Welcome to lesson 15. In this lesson, I'm going to tell you a term which you should never ever use in your legal writing, business writing, general writing, academic writing, whatever English writing you do. Never ever use this term again. This is going to be a short video to explain why. However, if you look at my advanced course videos, you'll see that I'll talk about this for about 25 to 30 minutes. So if you want to find out more, then please go ahead and check out that video. Okay, so what's the main reason for not using and or? The main reason is that this term has no precise legal definitions. It means that the courts have understood this term in different ways. So you have one term which could be understood in a minimum of 3 different ways. So this term is an ambiguous term. This term will confuse people. And when you're writing, particularly in legal writing, you do not want to confuse people. So the courts have understood and or to mean and, which means all of the options together. The courts have understood and or to mean or, which means one of the options. And the courts have understood and or to mean some of the options, but not all of the options. In short, if you have a term which has got no legal definition, none at all, you will cause problems. And who has to work out what the word actually means because it is used in contracts? Judges have to, courts have to, and they hate doing so. Trust me, there is plenty of evidence out there, and if you have a look at my longer video, you will see this evidence that judges not only hate this word because this word is ambiguous, but they hate the lawyers who use this word as well. Okay, and I don't care who you are. If you're going to court and you have to hope that the judge will help you or rule in your favour, one thing you do not want to do, one situation you want to avoid, is the situation where the judge attacks you because you need to rely on this term. Okay, so don't use it. Let me give you an example. You can work part-time and or full-time. Here, there is a clear potential legal problem. This means part-time or full-time. This means part-time some of the time and full-time the other time. If I was the employer, I would understand it one way, because I want flexibility from my employees. But my employee might understand this as a choice. I can do this or this. So one day the employee will say, I'll work part-time, and then the employer will say, no, I want you to work full-time. There we have a dispute, and there we have a case in front of the employment tribunal. And the key thing is, as you'll see in a second, this is really an easy problem to avoid. For example, we could just say, you can work part-time or full-time. So you just choose one of the options. Do I really mean to say and, or do I really mean to say or? And this is one of the reasons why judges hate this term so much and hate the lawyers who use this, because the lawyers are simply not deciding what do they want to say. Do the lawyers want to say and, or do the lawyers want to say or? So what are the teaching tips? Well, hopefully I've made it clear. Never use and or. Use a different form which is clear, which is really what you want to say, which means you have to think about your message. Do you want to say and? Do you want to say or? Do you want to maybe give a choice, which is X or Y or both? Or is it better, if you can't work out what you're trying to say, just to redraft the whole sentence and say it in a different way where there is no possibility for ambiguity and that the redrafted sentence is completely clear. So you've got some options here. And a couple of things to say. In the world of legal writing, everyone else does it is not an excuse. I know everyone else does it, and everyone else is wrong. The judges have told us that everyone else is wrong. So just because someone else does it wrong does not mean you have to do it wrong. And also, connected to that point, natives use it is also not an excuse. Native lawyers also make mistakes. When judges have to decide about what and/or means, they're not deciding this because foreign lawyers have written these contracts. These contracts have been written by native lawyers. Native lawyers make this mistake. You now know it is a mistake. Don't make this mistake. Okay, so now it's time for some questions for you to redraft these and/or clauses. And this is simply just to help you identify the problem and redraft the problem. So, rewrite the sentences below. Use what you think is the correct alternative to and/or based on the context that you can read. There is no one correct answer, because this is open to interpretation. And when text is open to interpretation, particularly legal English text, this is a problem because it means I can understand one thing, you might understand a different thing. However, if there was more context, it would be easier to decide which alternative is better. So, by way of an example, for this job, please send your CV and/or application form. You might decide that this is simply, for this job, please send your CV and application form. Because normally, when you apply for a job, you have to send two things, your CV and your application form. So hopefully there will be enough context for you to make a good decision, but as I said, different answers may be possible. So try those questions below, and once you've had a think about them, then watch my answer video.